So here's what we're making today. It's my little travel Dopp kit, and it's kind of constructed in a neat way where this whole panel, both the shell and the lining, are one piece. I've been using this for a number of months now, and there's just a couple things I want to change about it, so I'm making a new one. First thing, I need to make it a little bit longer and then a little bit wider. And on the inside, one of the things that kind of annoy me are the way I did the pockets. It just doesn't hold this stuff well enough. They all kind of bounce around. And then on this side, I have a zipper pocket, and then I had like this slip pocket. The slip pocket didn't work out very well, and it made this zipper pocket much smaller. So I'll be making this again, and you can kind of follow along. And I'll put the pattern out if you're interested in making this for yourself. As per usual, this video accompanies the instructions that are included with the pattern. So as I go through this, I'll kind of highlight some of the tips and tricks I have, or just explain what I'm doing for the steps that are a little more difficult to express in illustrations or in words as they're provided with the pattern. Finding the midpoint's pretty easy by folding these little small pieces in half and just marking. I like to do this because it helps make sure that the bag is symmetrical at the end. So I find the midpoint on all these panels and then mark it both on the zippers as well as on this stretch fabric. It can be kind of tough sewing the stretch material, so this double-sided basting tape makes life a little easier. And I apply it to both sides of the zipper, and that'll allow me to put the power mesh, the lycra mesh, on the zipper itself and then sew it pretty cleanly. Well, this is stretch material. In the pattern, I included 2 1/4-inch pleats, and this creates volume of this pocket without any complications. So I'm simply pinching the material and then sticking it back down. That little pleat that's created will be above the zipper and below the zipper. And it's for, you know, the bottles and things like that you're going to put in these pockets, so it doesn't cause the whole bag to kind of get out of shape just by the additional volume. Here I'm putting on a ballpoint needle, and this really does help me avoid skip stitches. I find that I can't sew this stretch material without it. And I'm also using a zipper foot to ensure that I get that 3/8-inch seam allowance along the zipper. Another great tip here is to start center and sew outwards. If you're having a problem with this power mesh stretching like crazy on you, starting at the midpoint and then sewing outwards minimizes the stretch that you're going to get across the whole length of the panel. As we finish up, here's a good view of those pleats and the volume that it creates in that panel, both above and below the pocket. I'm using my cover stitch machine here to create the cord channel for the slip pocket, but a zigzag stitch works just as well. I just had this machine set up and didn't want to pull out my other domestic machine. This is the 1/2-inch flat elastic I use. It's cheap stuff I bought on Amazon, and I include the link in the pattern, but a bodkin allows you to pass this through the cord channel, and I have a little clip on the end so that the elastic isn't pulled through the other end, and I'll leave that clip on here pretty much through the whole assembly of the project. I'm showing the slip pocket is right sides facing up, and then we'll put the zipper pocket just right on top of it, with the right side facing up as well. And then we'll sew right across the bottom. That creates one panel. This is the cotton twill tape that we're going to use to kind of flat seam this pocket into the project. And you need 4 lengths. I give you a guide in the pattern so you can cut the right length here, but this is just showing the 4 pieces. And then to make it easy on ourselves, we're going to put that double-sided basting tape on each of those pieces of twill tape. And that's just going to help us stick it down where we want it. The long edge goes along the bottom of the pocket, and it'll get sewn through both the zipper pocket and the slip pocket, and then the shorter one goes across the top. Here I'm trying to show you that you sew it really close to the edge, and this twill tape just means that we'll be able to attach it to the lining just by sewing through the twill tape and not have to worry about the stretch material. I marked the right side of the lining fabric with these blue lines. They're marked on the pattern panel as well, so you know where to place this. And your pocket shouldn't cover the lines, they'll go right up to it. To make it easier to feed this material, I'm using an extra wide foot. That's what I'm showing here is my normal foot versus the wide foot. A compensating foot would work really well here as well. As you can see, we're aligning that twill tape with the line, but we're not covering the line, so that's about 1/8 of an inch away. To join the sides, you want to make sure you follow the lining fabric and you sew it about 1/4 inch away. You can ignore all the excess zipper pocket. And then here I open that zipper and I'm tacking down the elastic to create 2 different pockets inside the zipper pocket, if you will. And there goes that stupid clip. They always jump off the bench. And here you can see where I've sewn all this together and I've followed the edge. Now we're just going to clean it up by removing all the excess stretch material. And you can move the little extensions of the lining fabric away so you can cleanly cut that. Then you just clean up all 4 edges. You can see here how the pocket works. There's a zipper pocket for longer items, and then inside the zipper pocket there's 2 little slip pockets for small bottles. Wanted to show you my new woven labels. I get a lot of questions about these. I make these every year, and so for 2026 I have this style. I end up folding them over, and then I combine it with my normal woven label and kind of follow along with your progression. So here's something I find pretty nice about the bag. You can see that it's fully lined and it's a nice clean lining along the zipper. That's easy to do. What's kind of unique about it is that it's also finished here along this zipper edge where it joins the kind of the bottom. And then the only part that you're going to bind is these 4 vertical seams. So using the drill marks on the pattern, I marked the right side of the shell and I've sewn my little handles that are used for hanging the bag in relation to that. And you can see I just tacked it in a couple places. For the main zipper, it's important to get the orientation of your panels correct. So your lining and your shell should be right sides together. And then the zipper should be right side correct to the shell. You need to pay attention to which, obviously the right side of your zipper is whichever side the zipper slider is on. And then in most of my patterns, you sew directly in the middle between the edge of the tape and the teeth. And that'll make sure you don't have to add any additional seam allowance to your panel. With your main zipper inserted on both sides, you now flip the panel right side out. And then you can go ahead and understitch the lining, or you can choose to top stitch through both the shell and the lining. Here in a moment you'll see that I understitched because I didn't have a thread that matches this material. So you can see the stitch line there, and that keeps the lining from billowing out from the zipper. Now you're going to go ahead and install your zipper slider, and I actually pass it over the zipper twice. So the first time closes both ends, and then I'll pass the zipper slider again through there and just place it in the middle. With the zipper closed, we turn the bag to the wrong sides out, and then we arrange it to where the shell is on one side of the zipper and the lining's on the other side. What we're doing here is we're aligning the 2 side panels where the zipper will join the side of the shell, and then we're going to join the lining on top of that. So we're sandwiching the zipper between the shell and the lining, and then we're going to sew across that edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. We do that 2 times and we get this kind of weird shape, and when we flip the bag you'll see why we did it this way. So now you need to flip the whole bag through one of the small openings on the sides. You're going to need to be really careful here because you can easily stress the shell fabric and end up ripping it. So just take your time and carefully turn through that opening. You can open up the zipper and then go ahead and dress your seams. And here you can see the nice finish that process gave us. Both the outside and inside of that side seam don't need binding. So now with the zipper open, go ahead and flip the bag to the wrong side again. And then you want to align the side seams. And this is kind of like squaring up a boxy pouch where you line the two sides. And as you clip them, you just want to really make sure that everything's symmetrical and you have a squared bottom to the bag. When you're happy, then we're going to go ahead and sew those edges with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. There I sewed the 4 edges and it's pretty nice and symmetrical, squared bottom. Now we just need to bind the raw edges. We're going to use a grosgrain ribbon to bind these edges. So I fold it in half and then I crease it. I use the sharp edge of the table to crease it. That just really helps. I'll place it underneath my foot and then I'll also sink the needle just to hold it in that folded position. Then we place the edge of the fabric into the fold and then we sew across it. And the magnetic seam guide acts as a backstop or a third hand to really help hold that binding in the right position. You can trim this binding and then seal it with a lighter just so it doesn't fray on you. Then just flip your bag right side out and you're pretty much done.